Hi, Standers. This is Sheila Hollinger with Marriage Revealed Ministries. Thank you for joining me today. The topic today is on a question. Why is this happening? And this question comes from a heart that has not yet fully grasped what is going on. And if this is you, if this question is on your mind, in your heart, day and night, I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with this question. It just shows a place that you are in, right? And we have all of us. I don't think there's anybody out there that didn't have this question in the beginning. And I liken it to a dark tunnel, a tunnel vision, a place of you see the light and you see where you want to go, but you don't understand how you got there. And it's a very narrow-minded understanding of what's really going on. The truth has been hidden to you and it's tunnel vision, and you're in a dark tunnel. You can't see outside of the tunnel. You can only see forward. You can see where you want to go. You can see that light coming through. And to you, the light is marriage restoration. But what's going on right now is that the bigger picture needs to be revealed to you. You need to understand what really, truly, honestly is going on and why this came about. And again, I was in this place. I don't know any stander. I have not come across any stander in the 8 years that I've been doing this ministry that did not start out in this place. And the good news is that tunnel will go away, because I am surrounded every day by many, many standers who've now overcome this tunnel vision, where they see the greater picture, they understand the greater purpose, and that is the purpose and ministry that we do here is getting you out of that place of I don't understand. Now, what is it you don't understand? You don't understand how someone that you married, that you created a life with, that you became one with, who you said your vows, your promises, you built a life with them. You know them, right? All of a sudden, there's someone that you don't know. All of a sudden now you are questioning, did I ever know them? That's a very real thing. Some of you really do. Did I ever know them? Did they ever love me? How could they do this, right? That's another question. How did this happen? I don't understand any of this. Why is this happening? This isn't the person I married. This isn't the person that I know. We've spent many years together, right? And they just suddenly they're just not someone that you recognize. So I get that. I get all the questions because I had them too. It didn't make sense, right? The only thing that made sense was that my spouse was going, off the deep end, or they were being very, very selfish, very rebellious, very self-centered. It was all about them and they didn't care anymore. They didn't love me anymore. There were so many answers, right? But none of them were the real answers. We come up with our conclusions because we haven't yet been exposed to what the real truth is. The real truth is, and it was for me, and I'm going to share what my real truth was, okay? The real truth is, I wasn't thinking like God was thinking. I wasn't on the same page with Him. In fact, I was only going to God, asking God to restore my marriage for me. I was just as self-centered and self-focused as my husband was. And it wasn't until God got me out of that box, He started chipping away at the tunnel that I was surrounded in, that narrow tunnel vision of it's all about me, it's all about marriage, it's all about our relationship, it's all about us, right? Once I started to realize that there was something far greater of importance than me and my marriage, and that was getting us both home to be with Him in eternity. Eternity never crossed my mind. We are only here for a blink, half of a blink, barely a blink, if you compare that to all eternity. Now, we may not be eternity minded. We may not give a darn about that. It may never cross our minds because why? Hey, we said the sinner's prayer, we're going to heaven. That's all we need to know, right? Wrong. It is so much greater than that. And some of these spouses are not saved. They have never even said that sinner's prayer. It's more than a sinner's prayer, folks. It is about personal, intimate relationship with Jesus. And if you don't have it, that's why this is happening. I'm going to say it again. If you do not have a personal, intimate, secured, surrendered heart with fear of the Lord, where He is your first waking thought and He is your last waking thought, where He is first and foremost in your heart, on the throne of your heart, where every day you are thinking, Jesus, I love you. What can I do for you today? If that is not what's going on in your life, that is why this is happening. Why? Because God has safety nets, safety measures in place to get us home. That is God's priority. It is. What good does it do to have the most perfect, wonderful marriage, perfect life, and you go to hell and you're separated from Him for all eternity? This is a hard message, but you guys, it's the truth. It's where I was shielded from seeing this in my tunnel. In that tunnel, it was all about me, all about my marriage, all about being fixed and secure and happy in my marriage. Some of our children are crying and depressed and very unhappy because daddy's not home, mommy's not home. And they believe that as soon as mommy or daddy comes back home, life will be fixed. No, we have to teach our children that our happiness, our security, our hope, our peace is not found in a person. It is found in God. It's very important for us to start teaching and instilling in our children right now that life is more than what we see around us. It's about getting back to Him, right? This is not our home. The Word of God says this is not our home. We don't ever focus on our real home. And that's what God is trying to get us into understanding. So Jesus said, the reason you divorce is because of a hard heart. But Jesus didn't go into really explaining, right? Through today's translation, at least, and what the word today shows you through that translation, it says hard heart. What does that really mean? Well, I have done many videos. I've done many articles. MarriageRevealedMinistries.com. If you go there and do a search on hard heart, in fact, there is a topic at the top of that that says, why is this happening? I've dedicated a whole page with several articles on why this is happening because so many believe it's the marriage and the marriage broke, so the marriage has to be fixed. And they'll go and spend thousands of dollars on marriage help, marriage therapy, marriage. It is not about marriage. The broken marriage is a reaction to, a reflection of a broken personal relationship with God. I do not care if you are a pastor behind the pulpit preaching to thousands of people and you have an affair, you're in adultery, you divorce, and you're going to blame that spouse. Nope. I'm sorry. It is not the spouse's fault. It is not the marriage's fault. Because a person that has a real relationship with God the way they should would understand marriage. If you don't understand God, you will not understand marriage. It is a God problem, not God's problem, but a God problem within us, an identity problem, a purpose problem, a spiritual problem. Get your eyes off of your marriage. Get your eyes off of the list of things that your spouse blamed you for. None of that is the reason. But God is using them to allow the heart to go hard so that he might save their soul. He's after their souls. He's after your soul. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I was even as blind, equally blind and hard in heart to the bigger understanding of what God was trying to do. My husband was running from marriage. I was running to save my marriage. We were both blind. But God used it. He used it all to his benefit, to his glory, for our benefit, to save us, to bring us to him. And if this isn't making an impact, I'll tell you right now. Let's just say your spouse comes home, and every day, every night, they sit there, they come home and they do this or they do that. They watch a show or they tinker with a car or they go to the salon. That is not going to bring you peace. The trauma that comes from the storm is real, folks. What brought me peace, what brings me security is first and foremost God. But do I get security when my husband comes home every night? No. I get more security when he comes home and goes in his room and watches a sermon. When he goes out in the garage and is tinkering with his car and in the background he has a sermon on or he's got worship music on. I get comfort and security when I see him working on his relationship with our Father, learning about himself, learning about who God is so he can learn about him. I don't get comfort. In fact, I'm going to tell you right now, in the 8 years we've been restored, I don't think I've ever seen him have any type of interaction with any type of marriage type counseling online or I've just never saw it. He didn't come home and pursue marriage therapy. That's what I'm trying to get at. He knew what was broken. Him and God. He knew how to fix it. Him and God. Go to church. So many of you turn to marriage therapy, and that's not the issue. And guess what? So many of you come to me and say, Sheila, that was the worst mistake of my life. They actually convinced us we should be divorced. They convinced us that there's no hope. Very sad situation because a lot of times, and there are some great standing ministry focused help out there that redirects you to God. Your spouses need to know what is really broken, and it's not you, it's not your marriage. And what happens is when the spouse comes in contact with you, all you want to do is let's fix this marriage, let's fix us, let's fix what I did wrong. Let me prove to you how I've changed. That's not going to restore your marriage, guys. I did it. Oh, I put on the show every day to show my husband how I was completely changed and I was completely fixed and there was no more reason for him to use those things as excuses anymore as why he didn't want to be married to me because those were gone. And guess what? It didn't work. I sat scratching my head. Why? Why if I've changed? At first it was a show, but then there was real change. I really did change. It still didn't fix us. And in the back of my mind, in the deep recesses of my heart, God was still whispering, Sheila, this isn't about you. Oh, the dreadful words I heard. I hated when he said that to me. I didn't talk to him for a week because he just kept at it. It's not about you, Sheila. It's not about you. It's not about you. I didn't want to hear that because I didn't understand it. How could God be telling me while my marriage was broken, while my husband was in adultery, while he wasn't coming home, while he didn't live at home, while I had an infant child? How could you be telling me this isn't about me? I don't understand. But over the next 7 years, I did get it, and I still get it. When God says to me and to you that this isn't about you, He is not saying it in a way that says you're not important, that I don't care. He is saying it in a way to get us to understand it's not about you as the reason it broke. It's not about you as what needs to be the reason it gets fixed. We are in a bubble and it needs to be burst. He needs to get us to start thinking and recognizing that this is so much greater, so much bigger. There's so much more. So we have to study, right? And praise God that he has given us so much wisdom and knowledge through his word. He has put it all in there for us to read and understand. And over and over and over, he says it. Hearts must turn, repent, come back to him. We just gloss over those things because we're desperate to find what we need to hear. We need to hear that our husbands and our wives need to say they're sorry. They need to forgive us and they need to come back and they need to do all this. We need to hear it, so we look for it. And we gloss right over the fact that God says the first commandment is to love him with all of our hearts and all else will fall into place. That's what we need to put in front of us day and night. Some of our spouses are saved. They know the Bible inside and out, but yet they are committing adultery. They're twisting the word. How does that happen? If you have a true relationship with the Lord, I'm not talking about whether you're saved and going to heaven, but I'm talking about, look at King David. I have shared this so many times. That man loved God. There's no doubt in any of our minds that he did not love God, but he had a place in his heart that was corrupt, that was discontent, that he didn't surrender to the Lord. And that caused him to be out of place, out of season with what he was doing. And he was wandering. I have all those articles. Do a search on the website, marriagerevealedministries.com. Do a search for Twilight. Do a search for King David. Do a search for adultery. All of these articles will come up. These are all revelations that God has given me over the last 14, 15 years now. Things that I have learned, what God has showed me. That's why he had me rename this ministry Marriage Revealed. The word revealed is such an amazing word because it shows you how to get out of the tunnel vision and answer all the questions of why is this happening. His word, it's all in there. But what happens is we get a tunnel vision when we go to the word and we start looking for answers that make sense to us instead of asking God, you know what, God, I'm just going to wipe the slate clean and I'm going to let you teach me what I need to know. And it's not about me. There's a bigger picture here that I'm missing and I need to understand. And he waits for you to get out of that all about marriage, all about me, all about what's being done to me, all of the selfish, self-centered, self-preserving. When we are wrapped in that bubble, it has to burst or we are not going to grasp this message. And that's how God burst my bubble when he said to me that day, Sheila, this is not about you. He burst my bubble. I think I surrounded myself in that bubble again and he had to burst it over and over and over till I finally said, all right, God, I'll bite. What the heck do you mean that this is not about me? Who else could this possibly be about? Is this about him and that woman he's with? Who else could this possibly be about if it's not about me? And yeah, you can pick up the arrogance in my voice. That's the attitude I had. I was angry at him for how dare he say this wasn't about me. And then God spoke to me and he says, it's about me, Sheila. It's about my relationship that has been ignored. And he burst my bubble, and I let it be burst. And I embraced it, and I said, okay, I get it. I'm starting to see something now I did not consider. And again, he showed me again later on when I told God, this is killing me. This is killing me. And he said, no, Sheila, this is killing him. He is the one in jeopardy. He is the one in trouble. You're fine. You've got a relationship with me. You're on the path of building a relationship with me, and you know where you're going. Do you know where your husband is heading? He got my attention with that conversation that night. I remember it, 2 a.m. I was on my face crying about how awful this was. And God, how are you letting this man destroy me? You're letting this man kill me because you're just letting him be selfish. Oh, so blind I was, right? Me, 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 me. That is our journey. Getting out of the me mentality and opening ourselves up to something that we don't consider. In one heartbeat, God can change our perspective and bring fresh new understanding that delivers us out of the tunnel vision, bursts our bubble, opens our understanding, and then the next day you forget it all and you got to remember it all. That was me. Every day I'd get the revelation and I'd forget it and I'd have to go back and relearn it all over again. Because when you're so ingrained, it's so in you what you believe, you have to be retaught. So it's like you wake up the next day, it's Groundhog Day. You have to relearn everything, start all over again. That's why journaling was so important to me, because I would go, you know what, Sheila? You just remembered a lesson that he taught you for a week straight. What can you do to remind yourself? So I would write down the lesson and I would write at the top of this, try to remember to read this tomorrow morning when you get out of bed so you don't have to go through the whole day and relearn the lesson. Did I always remember? No. But when I did, when I opened that up in the morning and was like, okay, let's remind ourselves what we're doing here. And I would read it and go, oh, that's right. This is about God. I started titling every one of my pages after that. At the top of every page, I would either put, this is not about me, or I would put God first, something to start my journal with reshifting and refocus. And I'll tell you, as soon as a bad detail came, I'd forget it all. And I would be right back to me, me, me. This hurt me. This was what's going on. But over time, this started to become the new norm for me of quickly remembering, Sheila, get back on track, get back on track. You got derailed. Get back on track. This is about God trying to save your husband. This is about God trying to get through to us that there's a greater picture. It's not about marriage. It's not about relationships they're having outside the marriage. It's not about adultery. It's not about what I tend to believe it's about. I was quicker to get back on that page. How? Because growth. Going through this journey day by day. If you are in the beginning, you are in this bubble, you are in this place. I hope I was able to pop it with this message. Will you get back in that bubble after this message is over? Most likely. Will God keep coming and popping that bubble, breaking that you out of that tunnel vision? Yes. Why? Because this is the message he's trying to get you to understand. Your marriage is very important to God, but not more important than his relationship with you personally and with your husband or wife personally. He's got to get you to understand how important it is for that personal identity to come through, because you know him. And it is an ever ongoing learning process day after day. It's not just get to know him, get your marriage restored, and then fall back into lukewarm. If we took a poll, how many of you were lukewarm? It would be a great amount of people that confess. In the comments, if you are lukewarm, were lukewarm, put it in the comments of this video. How many of you were lukewarm and the stand woke you up? I want to see that in the comments. We are a family coming into this place of recognizing God and how we didn't recognize him, how we didn't acknowledge him and put him in his rightful place. That is why standing is so important. And for those of you asking, am I supposed to be standing? Should I be standing? My answer is yes. Because if you are lukewarm, standing is going to transform you out of that place. I pray this message burst your bubble and you're glad that it burst your bubble, even though it's painful. I pray that hearing the words, "This is not about you," brought some clarity and understanding that this is about our Father God and how much he desires and longs for a relationship with us to get us home. He wants us home. He wants your husband home. He wants your wife home. He wants you home and your children home. Remember, we're here for a blink. That is his priority, guys. That is his priority. I love you. If this message touched you, please leave a comment. Please hit the like button. God bless you guys.